I held the pregnancy test in my hands for 20 minutes before I could breathe again. 3 years, 1,000 prayers, 18 failed attempts, and finally, two pink lines that didn't fade, didn't lie, didn't disappear when I blinked. I called my family, set up a dinner, bought a tiny pair of baby shoes to put in a gift box for the announcement. I practiced the words in the mirror that morning. Ryan and I are expecting. But I never got to say them because my sister walked in 30 seconds after I opened the box, smiled that smile she always smiled when she was about to win something, and said, "Oh my God, me too, but I'm already 4 months along." The room exploded with joy, just not for me. My mother cried. My father hugged her. My sister glowed in the center of it all like she'd just been crowned. And I sat there, baby shoes still in my lap, watching my moment dissolve into hers like it was always meant to. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in the dark with my hand on my stomach and whispered a promise to the life growing inside me, a promise that would change everything. My name is Claire Donovan, and if you stay with me, you'll see how the sister who stole my spotlight ended up begging for a piece of the empire I built from the silence she left me in.
Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you.
Let me take you back before that dinner, before the pregnancy test, before the moment my sister turned my miracle into her stage. 3 years earlier, Ryan and I had been married for 8 months when we decided to start trying. I was 26, he was 28. We were young, healthy, optimistic. We thought it would happen in a few months, maybe 6 at most. People got pregnant by accident all the time, right? How hard could it be? Turns out, very. Month 1, nothing. Month 2, I bought ovulation strips. Month 3, we timed everything perfectly. Still nothing. By month 6, I stopped telling people we were trying. The questions were getting invasive. Any news yet? What's taking so long? You know, my friend's cousin tried for years, and then I smiled, nodded, changed the subject. But inside, I was unraveling. By the end of year 1, we saw a fertility specialist. Tests, ultrasounds, blood work, everything came back normal. Unexplained infertility, they called it, which is just a medical way of saying, we don't know why your body won't cooperate, but good luck anyway. Ryan held my hand through every appointment, every negative test, every period that felt like a betrayal. He never blamed me, never made me feel broken, even when I felt like I was crumbling from the inside out. But my family? That was a different story. My mother started every phone call the same way. Anything yet? Not, how are you? Not, how's work? Just that question, loaded with expectation and thinly veiled disappointment. My father didn't ask at all. He just made comments. Subtle ones. Your sister's been talking about wanting kids soon. Says she wants to be a young mom. Or, the longer you wait, the harder it gets. I was waiting. I was fighting. But no one seemed to see that. And then there was Vanessa, my older sister, 2 years my senior, beautiful, confident, effortlessly successful. She had a career in marketing, a penthouse apartment in downtown Portland, and a rotation of boyfriends who all looked like they stepped out of a cologne ad. Vanessa didn't want kids. She'd said so 100 times. I'm not the motherly type, she'd laugh. I like my freedom, my body, my sleep. I never judged her for it. But I also never expected what would come next. Year 2 of trying was when I started pulling away. I stopped going to baby showers, stopped liking pregnancy announcements on social media. I muted friends who posted ultrasound photos and turned down invitations to baptisms. It wasn't bitterness, it was survival. Every baby I saw felt like a reminder of what I couldn't have, and I was tired of pretending I was fine. Ryan suggested we take a break. Just for a few months, he said. Let's stop tracking, stop stressing, just live. I agreed. And for a little while, it helped. We traveled, we laughed again. We had conversations that didn't revolve around ovulation windows or doctor's appointments. But I never stopped wanting it. Not for a second. And then, at the start of year 3, we tried again. One more round of IUI, one last shot before we considered IVF. The 2-week wait was agony. I didn't test early. I didn't let myself hope too loud. I just waited. And when the clinic called with the results, I was standing in the parking lot of a grocery store, holding a gallon of milk and a bag of apples. "Claire," the nurse said gently, "it's positive." I dropped the milk. It exploded across the asphalt, white liquid spreading like joy I couldn't contain. I was pregnant. Finally. I didn't tell Ryan right away. I wanted to surprise him. I ordered a custom onesie online that said, "Worth the wait," and planned to give it to him that weekend. But first, I wanted to tell my family. In person. The way I'd always imagined. So I called my mom and asked if we could all get together for dinner. She sounded thrilled. "Of course, sweetheart. I'll make your favorite." I spent 2 days planning the announcement. I bought the baby shoes, tiny white sneakers with laces I knew would make my mother cry. I rehearsed what I'd say. I imagined their faces, the surprise, the happiness. I thought this moment would heal something in me. That after 3 years of struggling in silence, I'd finally get to be celebrated. I was wrong. The dinner was set for Saturday evening at my parents' house. I arrived early, gift box in hand, heart pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. My mother was in the kitchen. My father sat in the living room reading the paper. Ryan was beside me, squeezing my hand, knowing how much this moment meant. And then Vanessa walked in.
She looked radiant, hair glossy, skin glowing. She wore a loose, flowy dress, which wasn't unusual for her. But something about the way she held herself felt different. "Hey, everyone," she said, breezy and bright. "Sorry I'm late." We all sat down for dinner. My mother served pot roast. My father poured wine. Sparkling cider for me, which I'd requested ahead of time. A small hint no one picked up on. I waited until dessert, until the moment felt right. And then I placed the box on the table. "I have something to tell you all," I said, voice shaking, but steady. Everyone looked at me. I opened the box, pulled out the tiny shoes. Ryan and I— "Oh my God," Vanessa interrupted, eyes wide. "Are you pregnant?" I nodded, smiling, tears already forming. "That's amazing," she said. And then she stood up. "Because so am I." The room went silent. My mother gasped. My father's fork clattered onto his plate. "What?" My mother's voice cracked. "Vanessa, are you serious?" Vanessa nodded, laughing, radiant. "I found out a few weeks ago. I wasn't sure when to tell everyone, but I guess now's the perfect time." My mother stood, rushed to her, pulled her into a hug. "Oh, sweetheart, this is incredible!" My father rose too. "Both my daughters pregnant at the same time." Vanessa pulled back, looked at me with something I couldn't quite name. Pity? Triumph? "How far along are you, Claire?" she asked. 6 weeks, I said quietly. She smiled. "I'm 16. And just like that, my announcement was over. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story.
The rest of that dinner became about Vanessa. My mother wanted to know everything. When did she find out? How was she feeling? Had she been to the doctor yet? Was she having symptoms? Vanessa answered each question with the ease of someone who'd never had to fight for anything. "Oh, I've been so nauseous, can barely keep anything down. And the fatigue? Unreal." My mother nodded sympathetically, squeezing her hand. "That's normal, honey. Means the baby's healthy." I sat there with the baby shoes still on the table in front of me. No one had picked them up. No one had asked me how I was feeling. No one had said congratulations after that first rushed acknowledgement. Ryan noticed. He always noticed. He reached under the table and took my hand, gave it 3 squeezes. Our code. "I see you." But it didn't stop the ache spreading through my chest. When my mother finally turned to me, it was with an afterthought smile. "This is so wonderful, Claire. Both of you pregnant together? You'll have so much to talk about." Except we didn't. Because 16 weeks and 6 weeks aren't the same. 16 weeks meant Vanessa was safely in her second trimester, visibly showing, past the danger zone. 6 weeks meant I was barely holding my breath, terrified to even say the word pregnant too loud in case it jinxed everything. My father raised his glass. "To my daughters and my future grandchildren." Everyone clinked glasses. Ryan squeezed my hand again. I smiled, forced it wide and bright, because that's what you do when your miracle gets folded into someone else's headline. We left early. I told them I was tired, which wasn't a lie. Exhaustion had been hitting me in waves ever since the positive test. In the car, Ryan finally spoke. "That was messed up." I stared out the window. "It's fine." "Claire?" "It's fine," I repeated, sharper than I meant to. Then softer. I just need to get home." He didn't push. He knew me well enough to know when I needed space to process. That night, I lay in bed with my hand on my stomach, whispering to the tiny life inside me, "You're not background noise. You're everything." But the next morning, my phone lit up with a group text from my mother. Vanessa had sent an ultrasound photo, a grainy black and white image of a tiny profile, limbs curled, unmistakably human. The replies came flooding in. "Oh my goodness, look at that little nose. So precious, Vanessa, you're glowing already. I can't wait to meet him or her." I typed out a reply. "Beautiful." Hit send, then muted the conversation. Over the next few weeks, the pattern continued. Every family call revolved around Vanessa. Every text chain centered around her updates. My mother started a shared Pinterest board called Grand Baby Prep and filled it with nursery ideas, baby gear, and parenting articles. I contributed once, pinned a crib I liked. My mother commented, "Oh, that's nice, but Vanessa found one with a better safety rating. I'll send you the link." I stopped pinning after that. At 8 weeks, I had my first ultrasound. Ryan came with me, held my hand as the technician moved the wand across my belly. And there it was. A flicker. A heartbeat. Fast and strong and impossibly real. I cried. Not sad tears. Overwhelmed, grateful, disbelieving tears. The technician printed out photos. I clutched them like they were made of gold. When I got home, I texted my mother. "Had my first ultrasound today. Baby's healthy. Heartbeat is strong." She replied 3 hours later. "That's wonderful, sweetie. Vanessa just found out she's having a girl. We're all so excited."
I put my phone face down and didn't pick it up for the rest of the day. Ryan found me sitting on the couch, ultrasound photo in my lap. He sat beside me, didn't say anything at first, just wrapped his arm around me and let me lean into him. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. You expected them to care. Yeah, I did. He kissed the top of my head. I care. And this baby is going to know every single day how wanted they were, how hard we fought for them.
I nodded, but the hurt didn't go away. At 10 weeks, Vanessa hosted a gender reveal party. My mother helped plan it, sent out invitations, ordered a custom cake with pink filling. I wasn't involved in any of it. The invitation came via text. "You're coming, right?" I stared at it for a long time, then typed back, "Wouldn't miss it." The party was held at my parents' backyard. Pink and blue balloons everywhere. A table stacked with gifts, a photographer Vanessa hired to capture every moment. I wore a loose sweater to hide the small bump I was just starting to show. Didn't want the attention, didn't want the comparisons. Vanessa stood in the center of the yard, glowing in a white dress, her boyfriend beside her with his arm around her waist. His name is Trevor. He was fine, polite, forgettable. When they cut the cake, pink frosting spilled out. Everyone cheered. My mother cried, my father beamed. I clapped along with everyone else, smiled for the photos, and left as soon as it was acceptable to do so. On the drive home, Ryan asked, "Do you want to do a gender reveal?" I thought about it. About the attention, the performance, the inevitable comparison. "No," I said. "I just want to find out at the anatomy scan. Just us." He nodded. "Just us." At 12 weeks, I told my boss I was pregnant. She congratulated me, asked when I was due, adjusted my schedule for upcoming appointments. I didn't post it on social media, didn't make a big announcement, just quietly started planning for the life that was coming. At 14 weeks, Vanessa started a baby registry. My mother sent the link to the family group chat with a message, "Let's all pitch in, help Vanessa get what she needs." I bought a pack of onesies. Shipped them directly, didn't include a card. At 16 weeks, I had my anatomy scan. Ryan and I sat in the dark room, holding hands, watching our baby move on the screen. Arms, legs, a face, a real whole person. "Do you want to know the gender?" the technician asked. Ryan looked at me. I nodded. "It's a boy," she said. I gasped. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. We sat there, stunned and grateful and overwhelmed. When we left the appointment, I took out my phone, thought about texting my mother, thought about sharing the news. Then I remembered the ultrasound at 8 weeks, the delayed response, the redirect to Vanessa, and I put my phone away. "Let's just keep this ours for a while," I said. Ryan smiled. "Yeah, let's do that." That night, I lay in bed with Ryan's hand on my stomach, feeling our son move for the first time. Tiny flutters. Proof of life. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight for their attention anymore. I wasn't going to compete with Vanessa or beg my family to care. I was going to protect my peace, build my own joy. And when the time came, when everything unraveled the way I knew it would, I'd be standing tall. Not because I needed their validation, but because I never did. At 18 weeks, something shifted in me. I stopped waiting for my family to ask how I was doing, stopped hoping they'd remember I was pregnant too. I redirected that energy into something I could control, my work. I was a graphic designer, freelance, working from home. For years, it had been steady but small. Logo designs for local businesses, branding packages for startups. Nothing that set the world on fire, but enough to pay bills and keep me busy. But pregnancy gave me a strange kind of focus. Maybe it was a nesting instinct.
Maybe it was the need to prove I wasn't just surviving, I was building. I started taking on bigger clients. A boutique hotel in Seattle needed a complete rebrand. I pitched them a concept I'd been sitting on for months. Elegant, minimalist, timeless. They loved it. Signed a contract worth more than I'd made in 6 months. Then a skincare company reached out. They'd seen my portfolio online and wanted me to design packaging for their new product line. I worked late into the night, sketching, refining, perfecting. When I sent over the mock-ups, they called me within an hour. "This is exactly what we envisioned," the founder said. "We'd like to work with you long-term." I negotiated a retainer, monthly payments, steady income that would carry us through my maternity leave and beyond. Ryan was proud. He'd come home from work, find me at my desk with my hand on my belly, and smile. "You're incredible, you know that?" I didn't feel incredible. I felt determined. There was a difference. At 20 weeks, Vanessa threw herself a baby shower. My mother organized it, of course, sent invitations to everyone. Aunts, cousins, family friends, coworkers. The guest list was 60 people deep. I got my invitation the same way everyone else did. A cream-colored card in the mail with elegant script. "You're invited to celebrate baby girl Monroe." Monroe was Trevor's last name. They weren't married, weren't even engaged, but Vanessa had already decided her daughter would have his name. "It sounds better," she'd said once, "more sophisticated." I didn't argue. I just RSVP'd yes and bought something off her registry. A high-end stroller. Expensive enough that I wouldn't look cheap, impersonal enough that it didn't require thought. The shower was held at a country club. White linens, fresh flowers on every table, a 3-tier cake decorated with tiny sugar roses, a champagne tower for toasting. I wore a loose maxi dress, my bump now undeniable at 20 weeks, but no one mentioned it. No one asked how far along I was. No one touched my stomach the way they touched Vanessa's. I sat at a table in the back with Ryan and a cousin I barely knew. Watched as Vanessa opened gift after gift, laughing, glowing, performing. My mother stood beside her the entire time, recording on her phone, tears in her eyes every time Vanessa held up a onesie or a stuffed animal. At one point, Vanessa opened the stroller I'd sent. She glanced at the card, smiled vaguely in my direction, and said, "Oh, this is nice. Thanks, Claire." Then she moved on to the next gift. No one asked me about my baby. No one pulled me aside to see how I was feeling. I was a guest at a party celebrating something I had wanted my entire adult life, and I might as well have been invisible. Halfway through, I excused myself to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and pressed my palms against my belly, feeling my son shift and kick. "It's okay. We don't need them." When I came back out, my mother was standing by the sink, reapplying lipstick. She saw me in the mirror and smiled. "Having son?" I turned on the faucet, washed my hands. "It's a beautiful party," she said, snapping her compact shut. "Vanessa deserves it. She's worked so hard." I dried my hands slowly. "Worked hard at what?" My mother blinked. "Well, you know, planning, preparing. She's really taking this seriously." I almost laughed. Almost said, "I've been preparing for 3 years." But I didn't, because she wouldn't have heard me anyway. I left the bathroom without another word. At 24 weeks, my business hit a milestone I hadn't anticipated. A lifestyle blogger with 2 million followers stumbled across my Instagram, saw the branding work I'd been posting, and reached out. She wanted me to design her entire visual identity. Logo, color palette, social media templates, website layout, everything. Her budget was 6 figures. I sat at my desk, staring at the email, heart pounding. This was the kind of project that changed careers, that turned freelancers into agency owners. I called Ryan. He was in a meeting, but he stepped out when he saw my name. "Everything okay?" he asked, voice tight with concern. "Everything's perfect," I said, and I told him. He whooped so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Claire, that's insane. That's amazing. You have to take it." "I am. I already replied." We celebrated that night, ordered takeout, sat on the couch with my feet in his lap, talking about what this meant, how we could use the money, how we could save, invest, maybe even buy a house with a yard before the baby came. "You're doing this," Ryan said, hand on my belly. "You're building something real." I nodded, but I didn't say what I was really thinking. I'm building something they can't take from me. At 26 weeks, Vanessa's nursery was featured on a home design blog. My mother sent the link to the family group chat with 3 heart emojis and the caption, "So proud of my girl." I clicked the link, scrolled through photos of a perfectly curated room, soft pink walls, a white crib with gauzy curtains, a rocking chair positioned by the window, shelves lined with books and stuffed animals arranged by color. It was beautiful. I couldn't deny that. But it also felt performative, like Vanessa wasn't preparing for a baby, she was preparing for the photos. I looked around my own nursery. Ryan and I had painted it pale blue, set up a simple crib we'd found on sale, a changing table from IKEA, a glider I'd reupholstered myself because it was cheaper than buying new. It wasn't Instagram perfect, but it was ours, and it was ready. At 28 weeks, I finished the project for the lifestyle blogger, delivered every file ahead of schedule. She posted about it immediately, tagged me, gushed about my talent. My inbox exploded, 50 new inquiries in 2 days. Brands, influencers, entrepreneurs, everyone wanted to work with me. I had to start turning people down, had to raise my rates just to manage the volume. Ryan joked that I'd accidentally built an empire while pregnant, but it didn't feel accidental. It felt like proof. Proof that I didn't need my family's approval to be successful. Proof that I could create something valuable even when I felt invisible. At 30 weeks, Vanessa called me. It was late, past 10, and I almost didn't answer. But I did. "Hey," she said, voice soft. "Did I wake you?" "No. What's up?" There was a pause. Then, I wanted to check in. We haven't really talked much." I shifted in bed, pulling the blanket higher. "We haven't?" "I know you're pregnant too," she said. "I just realized I haven't really asked you about it." I didn't respond right away, waited to see if she'd continue. "How far along are you now?" she asked. 30 weeks. Wow, that's far. She sounded genuinely surprised, like she had forgotten I existed. "Are you excited?" "Yeah," I said simply. Another pause, longer this time. "I'm scared," she admitted, "like really scared. I don't know if I'm ready." Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her it would be okay, but another part, the part that remembered being ignored, overlooked, erased, stayed quiet. "You'll figure it out," I said finally. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "I hope so." We hung up a few minutes later. I lay there in the dark, hand on my belly, thinking about that call. She was scared. And maybe, for the first time, she realized this wasn't a performance. It was real. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt free. At 32 weeks, I hired an assistant. Her name was Jordan. 23, fresh out of design school, hungry to learn. I couldn't keep up with the client load anymore, and I needed someone who could handle the administrative side, while I focused on creative direction. We met twice a week over video calls. She was sharp, efficient, and didn't ask invasive questions about my personal life. She saw the bump on camera once and said, "Congratulations," then immediately moved on to discussing project timelines. It was refreshing. By week 34, my client roster included 3 Fortune 500 companies. I was booked solid through the end of the year and had a wait list for the following quarter. My rates had tripled since the beginning of my pregnancy. Ryan started joking that I was going to out-earn him soon. He wasn't wrong. Meanwhile, Vanessa's social media presence exploded. She'd started a pregnancy journey account on Instagram and was posting daily. Photos of her bump, aesthetic shots of baby clothes laid out on white linen, captions about manifesting motherhood and divine timing. She had 40,000 followers. My mother commented on every single post. "So beautiful, so blessed, can't wait to meet her." I didn't follow the account, but family members kept sending me screenshots, asking if I'd seen Vanessa's latest post. I always said yes, even when I hadn't. At 35 weeks, Vanessa went into early labor. My mother called me at 2 in the morning, voice frantic. "Claire, Vanessa's at the hospital. The baby's coming." I sat up, groggy. "She's only 36 weeks." "I know. The doctors say she'll be okay, but they're worried. Can you come?" I looked at Ryan, who was already awake, watching me. "I'll be there in an hour," I said. The hospital was cold and too bright. My mother was pacing in the waiting room, my father beside her looking pale. Trevor sat in the corner, bouncing his knee, staring at his phone. "How is she?" I asked. "They won't tell us much," my mother said, wringing her hands. "She's dilated to 7. They're trying to slow things down, but the baby's coming whether we're ready or not." I sat down, one hand on my own belly. My son kicked, as if reminding me he was still safe inside. 4 hours later, Vanessa gave birth to a girl, 5 pounds, 3 ounces. They named her Isla. She was tiny, fragile, had to stay in the NICU for monitoring because her lungs weren't fully developed. My mother cried when she saw her through the glass. "She's so small." I stood beside her, staring at the infant hooked up to wires and monitors. She looked breakable. "She'll be okay," I said quietly. My mother nodded, but I could see the fear in her eyes. Vanessa was exhausted. When I went to see her in recovery, she looked nothing like the glowing, curated version of herself she posted online. Hair matted, face swollen, eyes red from crying. "She's so tiny, Claire. What if something's wrong?" I sat in the chair beside her bed. "The doctor said she's strong. She just needs time." She nodded, but tears kept falling. "I wasn't ready. I thought I had more time." "No one's ever ready," I said. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time in months, I didn't see my sister the performer. I saw someone terrified and alone. "How do you do it? How are you so calm?" I almost laughed. Calm wasn't the word I'd use, but compared to her, maybe I was. "I just take it one day at a time," I said. She wiped her eyes, and I left shortly after. Ryan was waiting in the hallway. "How is she?" "Scared, but she'll be fine."
Over the next 2 weeks, Vanessa didn't post anything. Her Instagram went dark. The aesthetic photos stopped. The daily updates vanished. My mother spent every day at the hospital. My father joined her on weekends. Trevor was there too, though he looked more lost than helpful. I visited twice, brought food for Vanessa, sat with her while she pumped milk for a baby who couldn't nurse yet. She talked more during those visits than she had in years, about how hard it was, how isolating, how no one told her it would feel like this. "Everyone just kept saying congratulations," she said bitterly. "No one said I'd feel like I was drowning." I listened, didn't offer advice, just let her speak. At 37 weeks, I had my final checkup before delivery. Everything looked perfect. My son was head down, measuring right on track. My doctor said I could go into labor any day now. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," I said. That night, Ryan and I sat in the nursery, the room softly lit by a lamp in the corner. He assembled the last piece of furniture, a small bookshelf for the growing collection of children's books I'd been buying. "I'm proud of you," he said, not looking up from the screwdriver in his hand. "For what?" "For everything." He finished tightening the last screw, then turned to me. "For surviving the last 3 years, for building something incredible while pregnant, for not letting your family break you." I felt tears prick my eyes. "I don't feel strong." "You are, though." He crossed the room, knelt beside the chair I was sitting in, and placed both hands on my belly. "And he's going to know it." At 38 weeks, Isla was discharged from the NICU. She'd gained weight, her lungs had stabilized, and the doctors cleared her to go home. My mother threw a small welcome home gathering at Vanessa's apartment. I wasn't planning to go. I was exhausted, swollen, and one strong contraction away from labor. But my mother called and asked me to come, she said. It would mean a lot to Vanessa. So I went. The apartment was filled with flowers, balloons, and gift baskets. Isla slept in a Moses basket in the center of the living room, tiny and perfect. Vanessa looked better, rested. She had showered, done her hair, put on makeup. The performance was back. But when she held Isla, I saw something different, something real. Love, fear, the weight of responsibility she couldn't Instagram her way out of. My mother pulled me aside at one point. "How are you feeling?" "Big," I joked. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I know I haven't been as involved with your pregnancy as I should have been." I didn't respond. It's just, Vanessa needed me, with the NICU and everything. "I know," I said simply. She looked like she wanted to say more, but didn't. I left an hour later, hugged Vanessa goodbye, told her to call if she needed anything. On the drive home, Ryan asked, "Do you think she meant it, the apology?" "I think she meant it in the moment, but I don't think anything's really changed." "Does it bother you?" I thought about it. Weeks ago it would have, but now, not really. I don't need her to validate me anymore. And I meant it. At 39 weeks, my water broke at 3 in the morning. Ryan drove me to the hospital, hand in mine, both of us eyes wide and terrified. Labor was long, painful, harder than I imagined. But at 6:47 p.m., my son was born. 8 pounds, 2 ounces, full head of dark hair, lungs that announced his arrival to the entire floor. They placed him on my chest and I sobbed, not from pain, but from relief, from joy, from 3 years of waiting finally culminating in this moment. Ryan kissed my forehead. "You did it." I looked down at our son, his tiny fingers curled around mine. "We did it," I whispered. And in that moment, nothing else mattered.
We named him Daniel. Daniel James Harrington. A strong name. A name that meant God is my judge. Fitting, considering the judgment I'd carried for 3 years. The first night in the hospital, I barely slept. Not because Daniel cried. He was surprisingly calm. But because I couldn't stop staring at him. Couldn't believe he was real. That after everything, he was here. Ryan slept in the chair beside my bed, one hand stretched out toward the bassinet like he needed to make sure Daniel was still there. I took a photo of them both. Didn't post it, just saved it for myself. The next morning, I texted my mother. "Baby's here. Daniel James, 8 pounds, 2 ounces. We're doing great." She replied 4 hours later. "Wonderful news, honey. Congratulations. Send photos when you can." No phone call, no rush to the hospital, no tears of joy. Just a text that felt copy-pasted from a greeting card. I sent a photo anyway. Daniel asleep in my arms, wrapped in the standard issue hospital blanket. She liked it, added a heart emoji. That was it. Meanwhile, when Isla was born, my mother had been at the hospital before Vanessa was even out of recovery, had cried, had posted a long Facebook status about becoming a grandmother, had printed photos and framed them within days. Ryan noticed my silence. "You okay?" I nodded, eyes still on my phone. "Yeah, just tired." He didn't push, but I knew he didn't believe me. We came home 2 days later. The house felt different with Daniel in it. Fuller, warmer, like it had been waiting for him. Jordan sent flowers. My boss sent a gift basket. My small circle of close friends dropped off meals and diapers without needing to be asked. But the family group chat stayed quiet. No one asked when they could visit. No one requested to hold Daniel. No one asked how I was recovering. I told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't need them. But late at night, when Daniel woke for feedings and the house was silent except for his tiny sounds, I felt the weight of their absence like a stone in my chest. Ryan took 2 weeks off work to help out. He changed diapers, did laundry, brought me water while I nursed. He was everything I needed. But I still wished my mother had asked to come over, had offered to help, had shown even a fraction of the energy she'd given Vanessa. At 2 weeks postpartum, Vanessa called. "Hey," she said, sounding tired. "How's Daniel?" "He's good, sleeping in 3-hour stretches now." That's amazing. She paused. Isla's up every 90 minutes. I'm losing my mind. I almost said, it gets easier, but I didn't know if that was true yet. I asked, is Trevor helping? She laughed, but it was bitter. When he's home, which isn't often. I didn't know what to say to that. She said, I saw your Instagram. The photo of Daniel, he's beautiful. I'd posted one photo, just one. A simple shot of his tiny hand wrapped around my finger. No caption, no hashtags. Thanks, I said. She said, you're not posting much. I said, I don't feel the need to. Silence. Then, must be nice. I didn't know what she meant by that, and I didn't ask. At 3 weeks postpartum, I started working again, just a few hours a day while Daniel napped. Jordan had been managing things beautifully, but I needed the structure, needed to feel like myself again. A luxury hotel chain in Boston reached out with a massive rebranding project. They wanted a complete overhaul, everything from their logo to in-room collateral. The contract was worth more than I'd made in 2 years combined. I negotiated terms, signed digitally, and dove into the creative process while Daniel slept in a bassinet beside my desk. Ryan came home one evening and found me sketching, Daniel on my chest in a carrier, my hand moving in careful strokes across my tablet. "You're incredible," he said, kissing the top of my head. "I'm surviving," I corrected.
"No," he said, "you're thriving." At 4 weeks postpartum, my mother finally asked to visit. "I'd love to meet Daniel," she said over the phone, "if you're up for it." "Sure," I said. "When?" "How about Saturday?" "That works." Saturday came. She arrived at noon with a gift bag, a stuffed elephant, and a blanket with Daniel's name embroidered on it. "He's precious," she said, holding him awkwardly, like she'd forgotten how to hold a newborn. I watched her from the couch, arms crossed, waiting. "I'm sorry I haven't been around more," she said, not looking at me. "Things have just been hectic." With Vanessa. She looked up, surprised I'd said it out loud. "Well, yes, she's been struggling." "I struggled too," I said quietly, "for 3 years." My mother's face tightened. "That was different." "How?" She didn't answer, just handed Daniel back to me and said she needed to get going. She'd promised Vanessa she'd watch Isla while Trevor ran errands. She left 20 minutes after arriving. Ryan found me in the nursery an hour later, sitting in the rocking chair with Daniel asleep in my arms, tears running silently down my face. He knelt beside me. "What happened?" "Nothing," I said. "That's the problem. Nothing ever happens with them." He wiped my tears with his thumb. "You don't need them, Claire." "I know," I whispered, "but it still hurts." At 6 weeks, Vanessa's Instagram came back to life. She posted a photo of herself in activewear, Isla in a stroller beside her, caption reading, "Getting my body back one step at a time. Motherhood won't slow me down." She looked exhausted. The photo was clearly posed, the smile forced, but the comments poured in. "You're glowing! So inspiring! Supermom!" I scrolled past it without liking. That same week, I launched my new website. Sleek, professional, portfolio filled with my best work, testimonials from major clients, a booking calendar that was full for the next 6 months. I posted about it once. Simple announcement, no fanfare. Within hours, I had 30 new inquiries. Jordan messaged me, "We're going to need to hire someone else." I stared at the message, then at Daniel sleeping in his swing beside me. "Let's do it," I replied. At 8 weeks, Daniel smiled for the first time. A real, genuine smile. Not gas, not a reflex. A smile meant for me. I cried. Called Ryan at work. He left early just to see if Daniel would do it again. He did. I took a video, saved it to my phone, and realized I didn't want to share it with anyone outside our little family. This joy was ours,
and I was learning that some things were too precious to hand over to people who wouldn't treasure them. At 10 weeks, I ran into an old college friend at the grocery store. She saw Daniel in the carrier strapped to my chest and gasped, "Claire! Oh my God! When did you have a baby?" 2.5 months ago. Her face fell. I had no idea. I didn't see anything on social media. I've been pretty quiet about it. She looked at Daniel, then at me. "He's beautiful. You look amazing." "Thanks. How's your family? Are they over the moon?" I hesitated, then smiled. "They're adjusting." She hugged me before leaving, told me to reach out if I needed anything. I nodded, knowing I wouldn't, because I'd learned something over the past 10 weeks. I didn't need people who only showed up when it was convenient for them. I didn't need validation from family who'd never validated me. I had Ryan, I had Daniel, and I had a career I'd built with my own hands. And soon, the world would see what I'd been quietly constructing while everyone was watching Vanessa's highlight reel. Because success doesn't scream, it accumulates. And I was about to show them just how much I'd been accumulating while they looked the other way.
At 4 months postpartum, I was featured in Forbes. Not a small mention, a full article. 30 Under 30, Creative Entrepreneurs Reshaping Brand Identity. My name, my photo, my story. Well, the professional version of it. How I'd built a 6-figure design agency from my home office. How I'd scaled during a global pandemic. How I was redefining what success looked like for freelance creatives. The journalist who interviewed me asked if I had children. "I have a son," I said. "He's 4 months old." She laughed, impressed. "And you're running all this with a 4-month-old?" "I don't believe in waiting for the perfect time," I replied. "You build with what you have when you have it." That quote became the pull-out text in the article. Big, bold letters beside my headshot. When the article went live, my phone didn't stop buzzing for 3 days. Clients reached out, podcast hosts requested interviews, a publisher asked if I'd consider writing a book about my process. Ryan printed the article and hung it in his office. "I'm married to a Forbes 30 Under 30, he kept saying, grinning like he'd won the lottery. My mother texted, "Saw the article. Very impressive." That was it. 3 words. Vanessa didn't say anything at all. But I knew she'd seen it, because 3 days later, she posted an Instagram story, a screenshot of an article titled "Postpartum Depression, Why We Need to Talk About It More," with the caption, "This, just this." Subtle, vulnerable, a cry for help disguised as awareness. My mother called her immediately. I know because Vanessa posted about it later. Grateful for moms who show up. I closed Instagram after that. Didn't open it for a week. At 5 months, I hired 2 more team members. Jordan was promoted to project manager. We rented a small co-working space downtown. Nothing fancy, but professional enough for client meetings. Daniel came with me twice a week. I'd set up a portable crib in the corner, and he'd nap while I worked. Clients thought it was charming. They'd say, "You're doing it all." I'd smile and nod, but the truth was messier than they saw. I was exhausted, touched out, running on 4 hours of sleep and cold coffee. But I was also alive in a way I'd never been before. Purposeful, driven, undeniable. At 6 months, I was invited to speak at a design conference in Chicago. A keynote, 1,500 attendees. Ryan encouraged me to go. "I'll take time off. Watch Daniel. You deserve this." I almost said no. The thought of leaving Daniel for 3 days made my chest tight. But then I thought about who I wanted him to see when he looked at me. A woman who played small or a woman who took up space. I booked the flight. The conference was surreal. I stood on stage in front of more people than I'd ever addressed, talked about brand authenticity, about building businesses that reflected your values, about refusing to shrink just because the world expected you to. The standing ovation lasted 30 seconds. Afterward, people lined up to talk to me.
handed me business cards, asked for my contact information, told me I'd inspired them. I flew home feeling like I'd finally stepped into a version of myself I'd been rehearsing for years. When I walked through the door, Ryan was on the floor with Daniel, both of them laughing. "How'd it go, Ryan?" "I think I just changed my life," I said. At 7 months postpartum, a video clip from my keynote went viral on LinkedIn. 2 million views in a week. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. This is the kind of energy we need in business. She's saying what everyone's thinking but afraid to say. Following her immediately. My following jumped from 3,000 to 60,000 in a matter of days. Brands I'd only dreamed of working with started reaching out. Nike, Glossier, Patagonia. I raised my rates again, tripled them actually, and people still said yes. That's when my mother called. "Claire, I saw your video. It's everywhere." "Yeah, it's been a crazy week," I said, balancing Daniel on my hip while stirring pasta. "Your father and I are really proud of you."
I wanted to ask where that pride had been 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago when I needed it most. But I didn't. "Thanks, Mom," I said flatly. She paused. "We'd love to come visit, see Daniel, spend some real time with you both. I'll check the calendar and let you know." I never called back. At 8 months, Vanessa's life started unraveling in real time. Trevor left, just packed a bag one night and told her he couldn't do it anymore. The pressure, the performance, the constant need to make everything look perfect. Vanessa posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Sometimes the hardest thing is admitting you're not okay." Then she went silent for 2 weeks. My mother called me in tears. "Vanessa's struggling, really struggling. Trevor's gone and she's alone with Isla, and I don't know how to help her." "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "Maybe you could talk to her. You've been through this, the postpartum phase. You'd understand." I almost laughed. "Mom, you didn't think I understood anything 8 months ago." "That's not fair, Claire." "Isn't it?" She went quiet. Then softer. "She needs support right now." "And I didn't?" The line went dead silent. Not because she'd hung up, because she had no answer. "I'll think about it," I said finally. I did think about it. For days. And then I called Vanessa. She answered on the first ring, voice thick with tears. "Claire?" "Hey," I said gently. "Mom told me what happened." She sobbed, full, ugly crying. "I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Isla won't stop crying, and I haven't slept in days, and I can't." "Do you have anyone there with you?" "Mom comes by, but she has to leave. She has her own life." I closed my eyes, took a breath. "Do you want me to come over?" "Really?" Her voice cracked with hope. "Yeah. Give me an hour." I drove to Vanessa's apartment with Daniel in the back seat. When she opened the door, she looked shattered. Hair unwashed, eyes swollen. The apartment behind her was chaos. Laundry piled everywhere, dishes in the sink, Isla screaming from another room. "I'm sorry," Vanessa said immediately. "I know you didn't want to come." "That's not true," I said, stepping inside. "I just needed you to ask." She looked at me confused. "You never asked how I was. For 3 years. For 8 months after Daniel was born, you never once asked." Her face crunkled. "I know. I'm sorry. I was so wrapped up in my own stuff, I didn't see what you were going through." "I know. But I'm here now." I picked up Isla, soothed her, got her down for a nap. Then I helped Vanessa clean the apartment, did her dishes, folded her laundry. We didn't talk much, but something shifted between us. When I left 3 hours later, she hugged me at the door and said, "Thank you." "Take care of yourself," I said. Driving home, I realized something. I didn't help her for my family. I didn't do it for redemption or forgiveness. I did it because I knew what it felt like to be alone, and I refused to let anyone feel that way if I could help it. Even her. At 10 months postpartum, I signed a book deal.
The publisher had been circling for weeks after my keynote went viral. They wanted a book about building authentic businesses, about entrepreneurship through motherhood, about refusing to wait for permission. The advance was enough to put a down payment on a house. Ryan and I found one 3 weeks later. 4 bedrooms, a backyard, an office with floor-to-ceiling windows, space for Daniel to grow, space for the family we were building. We moved in just before Daniel's first birthday. My mother asked if she could host his birthday party. At our house, she said. The whole family. It would mean a lot. I hesitated. Ryan watched me from across the room, leaving the decision entirely to me. Okay, I said finally, but I'm bringing the cake. The party was on a Saturday. 20 people showed up. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in over a year. Vanessa came with Isla, who was walking now, wobbly but determined. My mother had decorated the backyard with balloons and streamers. A banner that read, "Happy First Birthday, Daniel," hung across the patio. Daniel wore a tiny button-up shirt and spent most of the party in Ryan's arms, wide-eyed at all the attention. People asked me about the Forbes article, about the keynote, about the book deal. I answered politely, deflecting praise, redirecting conversations to Daniel. But I felt their eyes on me differently now. Not with pity, not with concern, with something closer to awe. Midway through the party, my father pulled me aside. "Can we talk?" he asked. We walked to the far corner of the yard, away from the noise. He cleared his throat, looked uncomfortable. "Your mother and we owe you an apology." I waited. "We weren't there for you the way we should have been. When you were trying to get pregnant, when you were pregnant, after Daniel was born. We got caught up in Vanessa's situation, and we didn't see what you were going through." "You didn't want to see," I said quietly. He flinched. "Maybe you're right." "There's no maybe, Dad. You watched me disappear, and you didn't care enough to ask why." His jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" I crossed my arms. "You made me feel invisible, both of you, for years." "We thought you were fine," he said defensively. "You always seemed so put together, so independent." "I was surviving. There's a difference." "I know that now." "Do you?" I asked. "Or do you only see me now because the world does?" He didn't answer. "I needed you when no one was watching, when I was failing fertility treatments, when I was crying in parking lots, when I was pregnant and scared and alone. That's when I needed you." "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice cracked. I nodded. "I know you are, but sorry doesn't change what happened. It doesn't give me back the last 3 years." "So what do we do now?" I looked back at the party, at Daniel laughing in Ryan's arms, at the life I'd built without their help. "We move forward, but not like before. I'm not going to chase your approval anymore. I'm not going to compete for your attention. You're either in Daniel's life consistently, honestly, and without conditions, or you're not in it at all." My father's face went pale. "Claire." "I mean it, Dad. I won't let him grow up feeling the way I did. Conditional love isn't love. It's manipulation." He nodded slowly. "We'll do better." "I hope so." Then I walked away. Later, as people sang happy birthday and Daniel smashed his face into a slice of cake, my mother pulled me into the kitchen. "Your father told me what you said." I leaned against the counter. "And?" "You're right." She wiped her eyes. "We failed you. I failed you." I didn't argue. "I kept telling myself Vanessa needed me more," she continued, "that you were strong enough to handle things on your own. But the truth is, I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That you'd never forgive me for how I treated you. That I'd already lost you, and I just didn't want to admit it." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen before. Regret. Real, raw regret. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," I said honestly. "But I'm willing to try, if you're willing to show up. Really show up." She nodded, tears falling. "I will. I promise." I wanted to believe her, part of me did, but I'd learned that promises meant nothing without action.
As the party wound down, Vanessa found me on the porch. Isla was asleep in her stroller beside her. "You did good, Claire," she said softly. "With Daniel, with your business, with everything." "Thanks," I said. She looked out at the yard. "I'm sorry I made your pregnancy about me. That I stole your moment." I turned to her. "Did you do it on purpose?" She hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe. I think I was scared you'd finally have something I didn't. Something I couldn't compete with." "You didn't need to compete, Vanessa. We were never in a race." "I know that now." She smiled sadly. "Watching you build your life while mine fell apart, it made me realize I've been performing for so long I forgot what was real." "So stop performing. Be real." She nodded. "I'm trying." We stood in silence for a moment. Not as rivals, not as competitors, just as two women who'd survived very different versions of motherhood. "For what it's worth, I think you're incredible. I always have." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, "Thank you." That night, after everyone left, Ryan and I put Daniel to bed in his new room. We stood in the doorway, watching him sleep. "How are you feeling?" Ryan asked. "Lighter. Like I finally said everything I needed to say." "Do you think they'll change?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm willing to try. If you're willing to show up. Really show up." He nodded, tears falling. "I will. I promise." I wanted to believe her. Part of me did. But I'd learned that promises meant nothing without action. As the party wound down, Vanessa found me on the porch. Isla was asleep in her stroller beside her. "You did good, Claire," she said softly. "With Daniel, with your business, with everything." "Thanks," I said. She looked out at the yard. "I'm sorry I made your pregnancy about me, that I stole your moment." I turned to her. "Did you do it on purpose?" She hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe. I think I was scared you'd finally have something I didn't, something I couldn't compete with." "You didn't need to compete, Vanessa. We were never in a race." "I know that now." She smiled sadly. "Watching you build your life while mine fell apart, it made me realize I've been performing for so long I forgot what was real." "So stop performing. Be real." She nodded. "I'm trying." We stood in silence for a moment. Not as rivals, not as competitors, just as two women who'd survived very different versions of motherhood. "For what it's worth, I think you're incredible. I always have." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, "Thank you." That night, after everyone left, Ryan and I put Daniel to bed in his new room. We stood in the doorway, watching him sleep. "How are you feeling?" Ryan asked. "Lighter. Like I finally said everything I needed to say." "Do you think they'll change?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm willing to try. If you're willing to show up. Really show up." He nodded, tears falling. "I will. I promise." I wanted to believe her. Part of me did. But I'd learned that promises meant nothing without action. 3 months later, my book was released. It debuted at number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list. I did a book tour, spoke at universities, was interviewed on podcasts and morning shows. My family bought copies. My mother posted about it on Facebook. So proud of my daughter. The comments asked where she'd been all this time. She never answered. Vanessa sent me a voice note. "I'm reading your book. Chapter 4 made me cry. You're going to change so many lives." I listened to it 3 times. Because maybe that was enough.
Not erasure of the past, just acknowledgement of the present. On Daniel's second birthday, we threw a small party at our house. Just close friends, Ryan's family, and my parents. They came early, helped set up, played with Daniel, stayed light to help clean. It wasn't perfect, but it was present. And as I watched my father hold Daniel on his lap, reading him a book, I realized something. I didn't need them to rewrite history. I didn't need apologies for every missed moment. I just needed them to be here now, fully, honestly. And for the first time in years, they were. I built an empire while they watched someone else's highlight reel. I survived 3 years of silence, a pregnancy they overlooked, and a postpartum period they forgot. I didn't get the spotlight, but I got something better. I got myself back. And in the end, that was the only crown I ever needed to wear. My name is Claire Donovan, and the daughter they ignored while celebrating her sister became the woman they brag about now. Not because I needed their approval, but because I built a life so undeniable, even they couldn't look away.
Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.